All right. You are live.
All right. Mike, you're gonna like this show.
I need to get the music here. 1 second.
Uh-huh.
Okie doke. Everything's running well.
All right. let me let me find a good record to play while we're waiting. I'm gonna find a Pete Belasco record that I think is apropos for what we're doing.
Okay, I'm ready. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, so we got 5 minutes, Mike. But I'm gonna play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got 5 minutes before we start.
And hey, your mama told you to behave. Ooh, I go when this love is safe. May I pose a situation that this whole troubled nation be one, 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 one. Brother, can you make some room? One and nine. Might be some changes soon. And hold it. Reach across party lines. And ooh, and go. When this grand design.
Hey, Cammy.
And I pose a situation that this whole nation be one, 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 one. Talking about smiling faces, more people reaching for higher places. One, respecting all races, total sense, and everyone will just become one, 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 one.
Hey, Chris Hurd.
Double sons and everyone will just become one, one, one.
David, how you doing, sir?
One, talking about smiling faces. More
Hey, Janet Marie.
people reaching for higher places. One, respecting all races. Daughters, sons, and everyone have just become.
Hey, Owl's Island.
One, one. Just believe it. Moving on ahead. Can you feel it? Just like your doctor said. Together we can climb down that hill. See it clear. Living with people's will. Can we have this conversation? Let this train at the station be one, one, one.
All right, you guys. So for everybody tuned in right now, late night when I wake up in the morning, hey Nicole Robertson. When I wake up early in the morning, Cammy, is when I write the best when my mind is clear. So this show is called The J. King Show. It's on KBLA Talk 1580 in Los Angeles. We tape the show today, but it airs on Saturday and Sunday. So if you guys are texting or writing something, comments, I can't respond to them until after we end a segment. So Mike will tell me how long a segment is. We'll do that segment, and then I'll have to break because Mike edits this show together. Mike, what are we starting with? The first
This
segment.
first segment can go 12 if you'd like.
12? Okay. All right. So we're going to start right now, you guys. And if you guys see other people in and they start texting and talking to me, if you can let them know, hey, he can't answer right now and he has to wait until after the segment, that I'd appreciate it. Let me do something here, Mike. I want to change how long the background. Nope, not that. Hey, Daraka, you're gonna really like this show because this is about Velma Grant. so we're gonna get into it. We're getting ready to do the show. We're getting ready to start now. You ready, Mike?
Yeah, right on. Looking forward to it.
Okay. I don't have the music.
The J. King Show.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. I hope it's good for you. My name is J. King. Welcome to the J. King Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We got a good one for you today. Our show today is on Velma Grant. Velma Grant is an extraordinary woman because in the 1940s, 1948 to be exact, she built a community called Willowbrook in Los Angeles, 250 homes. She sold 110 homes in a day. But I'm going to tell you some facts about what she was going through and why what she did was so incredible. Not then, even if it happened today. So this is the J. King Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm J. King. I am the president of the California Black Chamber of Commerce in Sacramento, California, is our headquarters, although we do have offices in Southern California. I also do a radio show on KDEE 97.5 FM in Sacramento called Traffic Jams every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 3 to 5 p.m. I do a morning podcast called Kings in the Morning on jkingnetwork.com. And I sing in a group, Club Nouveau. I am the leader of that group and creator of that group. Club Nouveau, best known for our hit songs, Lean on Me, Jealousy, Why You Treat Me So Bad, Situation Number 9, and lately, It's All Right. So I want to get into it right now and just kind of set the stage for you. So we're talking about post-World War II. There's a boom in housing. So following World War II, we have a surge in home ownership among African Americans due to the availability of veterans benefits through the GI Bill. The problem is there are lots of racial discriminations that limit full access to the benefits for African Americans. Then we have this thing called redlining, which is a practice by the banks and the federal government in the 1940s and 50s that significantly limit African American access to home loans. And entire neighborhoods being labeled as high risk due to the racial makeup of the area when there's black and brown people. So the GI Bill provides opportunities for white veterans to buy homes in suburbs, but African American veterans are excluded from these same opportunities because of the discriminatory lending practices and the restrictive covenants. Now, restrictive covenants prohibited African Americans from purchasing homes in certain areas. And in effect, they were segregating communities and limiting housing options. So, FHA loans, the Federal Housing Administration, supported home ownership for a lot of the white families, but they denied African Americans access to FHA loans. Again, due to the policies that excluded black buyers and reinforced segregation. Now, the reason why this is so important, because this woman that I'm going to talk to you about is going up against all the things that I'm telling you about right now. So they have this thing called suburbanization. So in the 1940s and 50s, they saw a massive growth of suburbs, but African Americans are excluded from this phenomena, again, due to discriminatory housing practices that leave a lot of black folk to settle in what they call urban areas. Now, the reason why this is important is because we're not talking about individuals doing this. We're not talking about banks doing this. We're talking about a government. The government is the criminal. The government is violating its own laws and rules and jurisdictions. They're violating them. So in the 1940s, approximately 40% of African American families were homeowners. But by 1960, homeownership among African Americans had only risen by 2% to 42%, while white home ownership grew to 60%. So you got African Americans moving to major cities in what they call the Great Migration. But in the Great Migration, they often faced high housing costs. They often lived in crowded living conditions in cities like Chicago and New York and Detroit. And this is and this was compounded by a lack of affordable housing. So due to housing discrimination, African Americans created their own vibrant communities and neighborhoods. And this is where Harlem and New York came. This is where the South Side of Chicago came from. And these places became the centers of culture and commerce because we have always been economy drivers, the Black community. So African Americans had to rely on non-traditional, often higher cost financing options such as loan sharks or informal lenders because we were excluded from mainstream mortgage markets. So the FHA and the VA were crucial in providing financing for home ownership to white families in suburban areas. But African Americans were largely left out of these programs or subjected to discriminatory lending practices. Now, what's amazing is that Well, I told you all those things. There's a young lady by the name of Velma Grant. And Velma Grant becomes an influential real estate developer whose legacy as a successful entrepreneur in a racially segregated America inspired countless others in the field of business and real estate. And her story is a testament of resilience, a testament to vision and the tenacity it takes to overcome all of the barriers that are placed in front of Black folk, but in particular, Black women in the mid 20th century. Now, Velma grew up during the era when racial segregation was rampant in the United States. So it wasn't anything new to her. And as an African American woman, she faced many obstacles in a country that systemically denied her opportunities, both based on her race and her gender. And despite these challenges, Velma was determined to rise above the limitations imposed by society. She was motivated by a deep desire to succeed and to change the narrative for future generations of Black women. Now, during the early stages of her career, Velma encountered many roadblocks, especially in the field of real estate, where the opportunities were already scarce for Black professionals. And we're in a segregated America. And discrimination was not only prevalent in housing, but it was also prevalent in the workforce. It was also present in credit because it had limiting access to credit for Black folks, limited access to resources, limited access to capital for minority groups. And a lot of banks and financial institutions were hesitant to lend to Black entrepreneurs. And a few established connections were available to help any newcomer that came into the industry. So this is the story of Velma Grant. And it is an incredible story. Because if you've ever been to Los Angeles and you've ever been to the city of Willowbrook, well, you've been to an unincorporated area of Los Angeles that was built and created by a phenomenal woman. Her name is Velma Grant. You're tuned into the Jay King Show at KBLA Talk 1580. My name is Jay King, and we'll be right back. How long was that, Mike? Was that 12?
Yeah, it's a little short, but that's fine.
It was a little short? Okay.
We can go 13 if you want.
13 on the next one? Huh?
Yeah, that would sound good.
13 on the next one?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you ready? You ready,
Yes, I
Mike?
am. Here we go.
Okay.
If you do want me,
It's the Jay King Show at KBLA Talk 1580. My name is Jay King. Welcome to the show. We're talking about Velma Grant, an incredible woman, a dynamo, who became a very successful land developer in the 1940s, at a time where racial segregation and opportunities for African Americans were very thin and few between. The NAACP had fought against housing discrimination in the 1940s and 50s. They challenged the restrictive covenants. They advocated for fair housing policies. They did all these things and they took their voice to the Supreme Court and the different courts in the land, but the progress was slow. But despite these challenges, home ownership continued to be a key way for African American families to build wealth. Even though they often faced barriers to property appreciation and access to credit. You see, public housing programs during the 1940s and 50s were racially segregated, and African Americans were often relegated to the least desirable and overcrowded housing projects. And that goes back to when we talk about redlining and where they allow blacks to live versus whites. Whites had the run of the mill. They could go where they wanted to. They could pitch a tent wherever they wanted. Blacks had a certain area that they had to live in. So the fight for fair housing was one of the key issues that helped fuel the civil rights movement. And that's where guys like Martin Luther King addressed the issue in his speeches and his advocacy for changes in housing policies. Then they had this thing called blockbusting. And this was a practice where real estate agents would scare white homeowners into selling their properties by suggesting that African Americans were moving into the neighborhood. And that would lead to white folks leaving that neighborhood and, segregating communities. So in some areas, African Americans intentionally moved into predominantly white neighborhoods as a form of resistance to the systemic racism in housing. And this was dangerous because sometimes black homes were bombed and people and children were either injured or killed. Churches played an incredible role, along with local organizations, in helping African American families find housing and financial support, particularly in urban centers. And despite discrimination, African American entrepreneurs in the 1940s and 50s began to open real estate offices and develop properties in their communities, providing opportunities for Black families to own homes. And because you had white developers that didn't believe that Blacks could own a home, let alone maintain the ownership, there were a lot of opportunities for these Black land developers and real estate agents. The impact of housing discrimination in the 1940s and 50s, I'm sorry, let me go back, Mike. The impact of housing discrimination in the 1940s and 50s, even today, has long-lasting effects on African American wealth accumulation. Because a lot of African American families still face disparities in home ownership and wealth today. That's why when we talk about DEI, I don't get into that conversation because we never benefited from DEI. Not the way white women benefited. So these are just some of the facts that illustrate the complex and often restrictive environment that African Americans navigated in terms of home ownership during the 1940s and 50s, marked by systemic racism and discriminatory policies that were not only upheld by our government, but encouraged and participated in. by our government. But what it also does, it highlights the resilience and the agency of Black families in the face of adversity. And this is where Velma Grant comes in. You see, Velma's path to becoming a successful real estate developer started with a solid education and her willingness to learn. See, you had to want to learn. Her parents instilled on her that you have to get an education. And during the early stages of her career, she encountered a bunch of roadblocks because she was in a segregated America. So she took an interest in the business of real estate. In the first part, she began to learn it and understand. She acquired the skills and knowledge necessary to make a name for herself. So with a strong work ethic and determination, she was able to make her first investment into real estate despite the odds. And her early success came from a combination of strategic thinking, persistence, and a focus on community-driven projects. See, she never got outside of herself. She stayed in the area where she knew that she would get the least amount of resistance. But she also recognized the need for quality housing in Black neighborhoods, especially in urban areas where the African American community faced significant discrimination in housing opportunities. So what did she do? She focused on creating affordable housing and revitalizing neglected areas in cities. And another thing she did that I thought was just brilliant is she didn't try to overprice the house. She didn't try to make a big profit on the houses. She took a little profit. Her win was in building a community, an audience, if you will. So as she started to grow and develop, that she could bring more and more. So her success would be in the numbers, not in a number, in the numbers combined. So she focused on creating affordable housing and revitalizing neglected areas in cities. And that often meant buying and improving properties that had been overlooked or undervalued by white developers. And because she was so well studied, because of her understanding of business, where others saw problems, she saw opportunity because she combined strategic thinking, persistence, and focus on community-driven projects as her core foundation. And then she developed overlooked or undervalued property that white developers weren't interested in. And what set Velma apart from other developers was her deep understanding of the African American community. She understood the African American community. She understood our needs. She understood that she had to be committed to creating spaces that could serve as homes and hubs for Black families to thrive in. So her developments provided not just homes, but a sense of stability and pride in communities that had long been neglected. And what I hope is that after hearing this show, that each of you will go and find out more information on Velma Grant, because what Velma Grant did then we can do today. But she knew walking into the game that she couldn't just be equal to. She had to be better than. She knew walking into the game, she couldn't just understand it. She had to understand it better than everybody in the room. She knew that if she did it, that she couldn't afford to make a mistake. She had to be successful from beginning to end. And that's why she walked into the community understanding the need of the African American community. She walked in understanding the commitment to creating those types of spaces that would be hubs for the community and safe havens for families. And that in itself set her apart from other developers. So you got to understand that this is an era where real estate was predominantly white, predominantly male dominated. And Velma faced constant discrimination. But she didn't care. She was relentless. She was relentless in overcoming any hurdle that they put in front of her. And one of her key factors in her success was her ability to build strong relationships and networks within the Black community. She understood the power of mutual support, and she relied on the collective strength of fellow Black entrepreneurs, financiers, and professionals. So her success came not only from her individual efforts, but from her involvement in a network that promoted economic empowerment for African Americans. This is a time where we are segregated. This is a time where the Black dollar really meant something, where our dollars circulated in our communities up to 100 times. And I don't know if we even know the history of that the closest dollar to ours was the Jewish dollar. It circulated in its community up to 40 times. So the Black dollar circulates in this community 2.5 times than the Jewish dollar circulates in this community at this time. And Velma understood it. She understood the challenges. She understood what it meant for us to be connected. We don't live in the same world today. So when people try to recreate Black Wall Street or try to recreate the same type of synergy, it doesn't feel the same because we're not the same. And we have to grow in a world that's growing. We have to change in a world that's changing. And we have to be innovation in a world that is very innovative. And we have to recognize that these stories that I do on this show aren't to minimize us to just Black. It's to give us an understanding of where we come from, what kind of foundation we're built on, and to catapult ourselves beyond that. And to be good business people who happen to be Black versus Black business people who happen to be good. And Velma understood that. She understood that she had to be a great developer who happened to be a Black woman. She never led as being a Black woman. She led as being the smartest in the room. So Velma faced challenges that we're going to talk about when we come back. You're tuned into the Jay King Show at KBLA Talk 1580. Velma Grant is our subject, and I hope you are enjoying the information. So, Mike, how many minutes do I have on this next one?
Yeah, it went over a little bit, but that's fine. We have about you want to go 8?
8.
We're over by eight would be good, and then 4 and 4.
Okay, 8, 4, 4. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, just to give you a little idea there.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
You're welcome. Here we go.
It's the Jay King Show at KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jay King, and Velma Grant is our subject today. She's the person that we're discussing because she's a brilliant woman right here in Los Angeles. She did an amazing thing in developing the community of Willowbrook. And I was talking about the challenges that Velma faced in the last segment. She faced challenges of securing financing because during this time, banks would often refuse to lend money to Black individuals, especially Black women. And the banks would make it difficult for them to pursue any type of real estate project. But what Velma did was she utilized alternative avenues. She did things like pooling resources with other investors in her community or tapping into private funding sources. And it was her innovative approach to financing that allowed her to push forward and acquire the capital necessary to develop her properties. And on top of that, all of the additional financial hurdles and the racial discriminations that limited her access to I'm sorry, Mike, let me go back, okay? In addition to the financial hurdles and racial discriminations that limited her access to key resources such as construction labor and prime real estate locations, she adopted her and changed her way. She because she was adept at navigating these types of barriers and finding creative solutions. And she would often work with African American contractors and laborers, giving them opportunities in a field where they were excluded as well. So what this did was it not only helped her business grow, but also contributed to the economic mobility of her community, because now she's using African American contractors, African American laborers, African American financiers. So everybody in the community is eating off of her vision. And the secret to Velma's success was built in a few key principles that always guided her work and always guided her decisions throughout her career. Number one, she focused on community. Velma had a deep connection to the Black community, and her understanding of its crucial role in her success. She knew that the Black community would be crucial in her success. So she worked tirelessly to create housing and businesses that would benefit Black families, a lot of times in areas that had been neglected by other developers. So she understood that. Now, again, we're talking about the 1940s and 50s. This is 1948 that Velma is building this community, 1948. And there's so much against her that nobody really believes that she can get done what she's about to get done. But that's because they don't understand her. They don't understand her persistence, and they don't understand her resilience. They don't understand that despite facing racial and gender discrimination, Velma's resilience is what's going to keep her moving forward. Her perseverance is what's going to allow her to navigate an industry that was not always welcoming to women or people of color. She was not going to stop. Velma built strategic partnerships because she understood the importance of collaboration, and she built a strong network of investors, of contractors, and of community leaders who shared her vision. And it was these strategic partnerships that helped her to secure financing, helped her with labor, and gave her support for her projects. Now, what Velma does is so incredible that nobody believes it's doable. And that is, she secures, I'm sorry, let me go back there, Michael McChain. And that is, she secures a $2.2 million loan from Bank of America. Now, I want you guys to just think about what I'm saying to you. This is 1948. Velma's a black woman who's a land developer, who's going to a bank like Bank of America and asking for $2.2 million. The gumption that it takes, the confidence and belief in self that it takes is undeniable. Velma Grant is recognized for the need of quality, the need of affordable housing for middle-class African-American families in Los Angeles, and for Carver Manor, which she developed in the mid-1940s. In a subdivision of 250 homes, single-family homes, in an area called Willowbrook, just south of Watt Avenue. Just south of Watts. I'm gonna go back to that, Mike. She developed Carver Manor, a subdivision of 250 single-family homes in the Willowbrook area, just south of Watts, California. When we come back, we're going to talk about how this whole thing came together and how the vision of Velma Grant, a pioneering African-American real estate agent and developer who made significant contributions to housing for Black families in the mid-20th century in Los Angeles, made her life, vision, and work even phenomenal today. You're tuned into the Jay King Show at KBLA Talk 1580. We'll be right back.
Good. Got it.
Hold on, I gotta let Rose in my office know I'm taping my radio show. Taping my show. I told you I'll call you. Hold on. All right. So how many minutes here, Mike?
2/4, if you don't mind.
Okay.
4.
You ready?
I don't. Yes, we are.
Talk to me.
You're tuned into the Jay King Show at KBLA Talk 1580. My name is Jay King, and I hope you are enjoying our show on Velma Grant, incredible land developer who really defied all the odds, and whatever was undoable, she didn't know about it because what they said couldn't happen, she absolutely made it happen. And she developed Willowbrook, unincorporated area right outside of Watts in Southern California, and made a name for herself that plays even today. It's why we're having this conversation. What she did that made her even more brilliant was she went to see an architect by the name of Paul Revere Williams. And you have to know who Paul Revere Williams is because of some of the projects that he has created. Uh, he is an incredible developer that I'm sorry. Let me go back, Mike. He is an incredible architect who developed some of the most powerful buildings. Let me go back, Mike. I got to go back and find out. I lost my I got to go back and find Paul's hold on. Okay, yeah. You ready, Mike?
I am.
Okay. She employs Paul Revere, an architect, to help her build and create Willowbrook. Now, Paul Revere is known for developing the Angeles Funeral Home, the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, the Walter Scott Bachman residence in Hancock Park, the Airform buildings. The Beverly Wilshire Hotel, the Beverly Hills Hotel. This is an African American architect, and this is who she goes after. This is who she is talking to. This is who she employs to create the single family homes that are being developed in Carver Manor. Carver Manor is named after George Washington Carver. Carver Manor provides affordable housing options for Black military veterans who are coming from World War II. The cultural significance of Carver Manor was the subdivision was named in honor of George Washington Carver, and it reflected Grant's respect for African American history and culture. Velma emphasized the use of quality materials and workmanship in the construction of the homes. And her work challenged prevailing racial segregation in housing because she provided Black families with opportunities for home ownership in previously restricted areas. The homes in Carver Manor are considered significant examples of mid-20th century residential architecture, reflecting the aspirations of African American communities during that era. So beyond housing, Velma Grant's development efforts contributed to the economic and social upliftment of African Americans and the African American community in Los Angeles. It was Velma Grant's innovative approach to real estate development that has to be acknowledged in various historical accounts and architectural studies if we're going to be honest and true about how great Americans are. because Velma Grant is one of those great Americans. You're tuned into the J. King Show at KBLA Talk 1580. We'll be right back. All right. You ready?
Okay. Yep, I am.
All right. So we 4 minutes, right?
Yeah, 4 minutes, Jay.
This is the out. We're done, right?
This is the last one, segment 5.
Okay. It's the J. King Show at KBLA Talk 1580. I hope you enjoyed this show. There's so much to learn and know about Velma Grant, but I have to tell you a few things before we get out of here. Number one, she was recognized as a dynamic leader in the real estate industry. She was known for her determination, her vision, her resilience, and her fierce perseverance. She was not going to lose. The development of the Carver Manor provided a stable environment for children, and that helped contribute to educational attainment within the community. The community was connected. And by facilitating homeownership, Velma Grant empowered Black families economically. She allowed them to build wealth and stability. Carver Manor stands right now today as a testament to the resilience and aspirations of the African American communities in our whole country in the face of systemic challenges, in the face of a government being the criminal that is not only encouraging and protecting these systemic challenges, but is participating in them. The legacy of Carver Manor continues to be studied and celebrated for its impact on housing and community development in African American history. Velma Grant played a crucial role in addressing the housing shortage for Black families in the post-war period, a time when a lot of folk, Black folk, brown folk, were excluded from mainstream housing markets. Her work highlighted the demand for quality housing in Black communities, influencing housing policies and practices in the whole region. Her innovative approach to real estate development has been acknowledged in various historical accounts and architectural studies. So I am proud to bring the name Velma Grant into your lexicon. And I hope what you heard today will encourage you and impact you in a way that when you have a vision or you have innovation, that sometimes you might be ahead of your time and you have to fight through it. Velma was ahead of her time. She was ahead of her time in recognizing the untapped potential of Black neighborhoods. She was ahead of her time by focusing on revitalizing these areas. She was ahead of her time when she created opportunities for both economic growth and social stability. And her ability to see potential where others saw only blight was a defining factor in her success, and more importantly, in her vision and innovation. Velma was dedicated not only to her own success, but also to lifting up others in her community. She helped other Black professionals enter the real estate industry, and this ensured that her legacy would continue through the empowerment of future generations. That's what we have to do. We have to decide that in the areas that we live and operate in, that we do business in, that we are going to be Velma Grants. And we're going to let our innovation, our vision, our perseverance, and our hard work be the driver of our success. My name is Jay King. This is the Jay King Show at KBLA Talk 1580. I hope you enjoy the show. And was that it, Mike?
Good, Jay. I got it.
Okay. So let me tell you guys, if you guys want to listen to my shows, download the iHeartRadio app. Download the iHeartRadio app and then search for the Jay King Show. And you can hear all my other shows, but this show will be up. Mike, how long do you think it'll be before we put this show up?
I'll do it within 24 hours.
So the show will be up within 24 hours. And I hope you guys I hope you enjoyed Velma. Velma's a bad girl. Wonderful lady. She lived to be like 92 as well. She lived a good life. Lived a good long life. But that's what our leadership should be like today. Our leadership should be selfless. One thing that I didn't really get into was how little she charged. She charged $11,000 for these homes. These homes are like $1 million homes now, but she charged $11,000 for these homes. She could have got more and didn't. Sold 110 homes in one day. When they came, 110 of the 250 sold in one day. But you're the bad sister.
Yeah.
Humanity on display. Had you ever heard of her, Mike?
I had not, but thank you for sharing. Now I do. I do love these stories, and how just the history of how America was created and different communities and what it took to kind of build it all together.
Yeah, but what about the racism, Mike, and the prejudice that the government? What about that part? How?
Yeah, it's just ignorance. It's
Yeah.
it's just straight up bunch of dumbasses.
Yeah. Mike,
I have a factoid about Willowbrook. Did you know?
What's that?
Dr. Dre's childhood home is located in Willowbrook.
Yes.
2336 East 125th Street, 126th Street.
Yeah, a lot of that. You know why? You know why, Mike?
Because that's
because y'all wouldn't let us live nowhere else. Y'all some dirty motherfuckers.
y'all. Me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, yeah. No, it's and then I'm sure his ancestors were probably part of Velma's history.
Yeah.
But the actual home was featured in the movie Straight Outta Compton also.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yep, right there. And Eazy-E lived down the street.
Velma's story has inspired me in ways to be innovative and be open to possibilities despite your circumstances. She didn't let the current conditions facing blacks in the real estate industry deter her from success. That's right. But that's all of us. We all we all have that potential. A lot of times we give up. We give up too easy. We face an obstacle and we just give up. And we say shit like, man, ain't nobody trying to help me. Ain't nobody looking out for me. Ain't nobody mess me with that. Ain't nobody's going to. Nobody's going to. So
unique in that they're big lots also.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a map, like a map of the plots. They're deep, skinny, and big.
I hope everybody just go drive by Willowbrook. When you go in LA, go to the unincorporated part of Willowbrook. It's a beautiful little area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So we're good. Let me see.
Yeah, thank you. Magic Johnson Park is in there. In Willowbrook.
Huh?
Magic Johnson Park. Willowbrook.
From my grass is greener on the other side, telling my song and I love to side. Finally feel no pressure. It's just who I am and how it all goes. I'm just a common man, living my best life. Ooh, part of the scene. Life is supreme. Best life. Running the red lights. Sowing seeds. It's what you believe. Found my buried treasure.
The rocker said he's inspired. Wonderful.
Learning my life. Lost a heavy load. And this conversation.
If I would tell anybody what I got from it, was that she knew that she had to be ready, and she had to be willing to bend and shape to get somebody on her side that normally wouldn't be. She didn't come in with emotions. She came in, she was pragmatic. She understood business principles. And she probably had all the answers. She had all the angles covered. And she had already had successes too, Janet Marie. So he knew she was special, but she had already proven herself with what she done in the community, and people, a good name came before her. And I think also because she was building a place for black folk, and white people just wanted black people to stay in their own place, keep them amongst themselves. But she built a quality home. I think that was the thing that she and Paul Revere Williams, they she got him in. She didn't go get some cheesy guy to build homes. She went and got the top guy as an architect to design. I think that was. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mike. We're good, right? All right.
Yeah, I'm looking at more history. Jazz on Central Avenue, which runs through Willowbrook.
Yep.
Cool spot.
All right, Mike, got to get ready for another meeting.
All right. Have a great night, everybody.